We will jump into the next question with Balajit. Yes, many have heard that Jesus is God, and we keep preaching that Jesus is God. But my question is, uh, did Jesus ever claim to be God? Dr. Balajit, please help us to understand, because sometimes we get confused whether Jesus is just a mystic, a miracle worker, or is he really a God himself? So that's a question, Dr. Balajit.
Yes, thank you, Bishar. It's such a great joy to be able to be part of this talk show. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in. And this question is definitely at the heart of our belief. And personally, I think that this is very nice because in one way, I always enjoy to look back and analyze the reason of what is it that I believe and why is it that I believe. And it is good to revisit this very theme and to also introspect into your own belief system. So you are not just what you believe just because of the way you've been brought up, or or because of your training or exposure here and there, but it is because of your personal conviction. So this is very, very important. And so this question, Bishar, that you've raised is a very important one. People have raised this question, and I've been asked personally on several occasions. And I think this is very important for us to look into the scripture and examine it as to, did Jesus claim to be God? Very often people would expect, when they look at this question, they would expect somewhere in the lines of this is where Jesus would say, hello, everyone, I am God, but nowhere in the scripture would you find something of that nature. And that is why the question becomes very obvious for people to ask this question. Where in the scripture did Jesus make explicit claims that I am God, or here it is that Jesus Christ is God? But I think we should not miss the entire essence of the Bible in establishing the fact that Jesus Christ did actually reveal himself and introduce himself as being someone who is God. So his claims are definitely there, to examine the very essential claims that he has put forward. But let me just pick up, for the sake of time, let me pick up a few important strands of thought here. One of the important things that I would actually submit before all of us is this very idea that if we want to understand Jesus, we need to understand Jesus in the context of how he has understood himself. And that is where scholars have actually put it up front. We need to understand Jesus in the context of how he has understood himself, or his self-consciousness of who he was. And so I think that is very important. Take, for instance, the first important point where, this phrase of him being, introduced, or he introducing himself as a son of man, which is more than 4 dozens of time that he has introduced as a son of man. So very often people have also said that, this very phrase of son of man is to just identify with humanity. But I think we would miss the very idea if we move away from scripture, because this very idea has been taken from the Old Testament, especially in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, where it is spoken of the Son of Man being someone who is of divine nature, and also speaking of his authority and of his dominion and of his kingdom that will never be broken again. And so that is in essence the context in which this very word is given. Okay, this introduction is made. And when Jesus identifies himself as a son of man, the audience at that point of time knew precisely what he actually meant when he said the son of man. Okay, so that is number one. And if I remember correctly, it was William Lane Craig who said, make no mistake that Jesus, while equating himself to be the Son of Man is actually, equating himself to be one with God himself. So that is number one. Number two, I think if you go to the New Testament, especially in the Gospel of John, go to chapter 8, where Jesus himself would say, even before Abraham was, I am. Now, we need to also understand these, texts in the context of what the Bible has revealed, right, about Jesus and about God himself. So now here, when you speak of the I am, the audience who heard Jesus spoke or introduce himself as the, before Abraham was, I am, what was he trying to actually say? Because the audience definitely came back and asked Jesus, what do you really mean? Are you actually greater than the one who has given us this well? Are you greater than Abraham? Because they knew that this man was barely 30 years old, and comparing himself with Abraham, who was considered to be an important figure in the Old Testament and very central to the Jewish understanding of the work of Abraham. And so when he was actually saying that, they understood one important thing, that Jesus was actually going back to the text when he was talking about Moses, when he was in the context of the Exodus, where he was introducing himself, saying that when you go to the Israelites who were in captive in Egypt, when they ask, who has sent you, go and tell them that it is I am who I am. And that is how God has introduced himself. And this very text where Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am, is an explicit claim to that very nature itself, that here Jesus is saying that I am God. And of course there are a series of the I am claims that comes along with this very notion again. So explicitly, if you study the scripture, you will find that Jesus makes this claim very, very significantly, that he is in fact the one who has come to reveal himself as nothing short of being the divine or God himself. So I think we need to keep these two important points at the background when we try to understand this. Of course, there are many other reasons that we can actually, put alongside these two important points.
Thank you so much, Dr. Balajit, for helping us to understand that Jesus is a complete man and a complete God. He's 100% man and 100% God. He's not 50-50. Thank you for helping us to understand from the revelation of Jesus himself on how he revealed himself. Thank you so much. That's brilliant.